It's gonna be a whole could you be open up? I'm asking you to be open up. Can we give each other hope? 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 Good evening, my wonderful listeners. Welcome to Second Chances with Ilaria Asumu, the show where we explore stories of resilience, healing, and the power of giving life through organ donation. Whether you're listening from Manchester, Salford, wherever you are in town, your cozy living room, or sharing this moment with a loved one, thank you for joining us today. I know the weather out there is really dark and blurry, cold, windy, but just snuggle into your sofa and just listen. It's going to be a lovely, lovely evening. This show airs every Sunday at 5 p.m. on Radio Africana, bringing you heartfelt stories, thought-provoking conversations, and the chance to engage in discussions that matter. If you haven't yet invited your friends, your family, and even your neighbor to join in, it's just 1 hour of your time, but it could open the door to a conversation that changes someone's life. You never know. Tonight's discussion might be the one that helps you or a loved one make an informed decision about organ donation. So make it a habit, tune in, and let's talk about giving the ultimate gift, the gift of life. Last week, we celebrated the silent heroes, unsung champions of living donation. We had some incredible stories, including an unforgettable conversation with Ali Dawson, who made the courageous decision to donate a kidney to his colleague at work. That story gave us a powerful lesson. Heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they sit right beside us, quietly saving lives without expecting recognition. But tonight, we shift gears and dive into a conversation that's deeply rooted in our traditions and identity, a cultural conversation. Organ donation in African traditions and modern life. Now, let me ask you, when you hear the words organ donation, what comes to mind? Is it something beautiful, life saving, or does it bring discomfort? For many Africans, the idea of giving away a part of themselves, especially in death, can feel unsettling, even taboo. Some believe it's against tradition, others say let the ancestors decide. But what if we told those stories differently? What if instead of fear we saw opportunity? Tonight, we unpack myth, challenge beliefs, and explore how modern medicine and traditional African values can coexist. But before we dive in, let's set the tone with a song that speaks to African pride and legacy. Here is African Giant by Burna Boy, because when we talk about tradition and modernity, we are shaping the future of our people. So I'll see you after the break. Enjoy. Welcome back. That was Burna Boy's African Giant, a song about pride, legacy, and identity. Things we'll be discussing tonight. Now let's get into it. Across many African cultures, our bodies are seen as sacred. For generations, we honor the dead by preserving them whole. Even in the Egyptian tradition, some believe that removing an organ, whether in life or death, could disrupt the soul's journey. Others fear spiritual consequences, believing that an ancestor might not welcome a person who was given a part of themselves. But here's the thing, our ancestors also believed in community. They believed in sacrifice for the greater good. What's more sacred than saving the life of a child, a brother, or even a stranger? Tradition is not static, it evolves just like we do as human beings. Some African nations are now having these conversations openly. Countries like South Africa and Kenya have growing awareness campaigns on organ donation. In Nigeria, there's still hesitation, but we're seeing progress with young people engaging in these conversations. And also, we see a lot of young people being diagnosed with kidney disease or needing a transplant for one organ or the other. And because we don't discuss these topics, these issues, they tend to wait longer. And in waiting, some of them die. What does this tell us? That tradition and modernity can coexist when we make room for knowledge and understanding. It's also important to consider what medical advancements have changed, how we view healthcare. So, when we talk about, organ donation and we talk about doing, some people have in their heads that, and I do get that, ask that question. Some people think they just, rip out the organs from you and the body will be disfigured. But that's not true, because we know that in the ancient times, diseases that once meant certain death can now be treated successfully. Those days in Egypt, when somebody dies, especially the pharaohs, their organs are taken out and put in little clay pots beside them. They preserve those organs. So it's not anything new. So why do we still hold on to outdated fears about medical procedures like organ donation? Could it be that we simply haven't had enough conversations about it in our communities? Now, let's hear from you. So the phone lines are open. So if you want to ask a question and you want to contribute to this conversation, please call 0161 222 9960 or WhatsApp 0744 881 1570. So those are the two numbers to call. I'm right here in the studio. I'm waiting to hear your contributions, or if you have any questions, you can also text it to the WhatsApp your WhatsApp number, and we'll pick it up from there and we would try to answer your questions or just bring you in to join in the conversation. So do you think organ donation clashes with our African traditions, or can we create a new narrative? So call in, tweet us, or drop a message. Now, when we talk about how organ donation clashes with our African traditions, we do know that in the past, people we believe that our grandfathers or somebody we've lost will come back to us. So there's that fear that if we donate our organs, or if we give our organs in modern times, when we come back, something will be missing. But I just want to tell you today that that is a myth, because if you die, you'll be buried 6 feet under. So that body is going to disintegrate. It's going to just, it's going to go to waste. All those organs that they could use to save or improve somebody else's life will go to waste. But we're talking about living donation. That is deceased donation I'm talking about. We're talking about living donation. And living donation is where somebody agrees to give one kidney or a part of their liver. The other things you can give as a living donor, you can give bone marrow, you can give you can give blood. You know, there are so many other things you can give whilst you're still alive. And that is why we are actually pushing for people to from our community to sign up to become organ donors and, you know, try and see if they can match with somebody. And as we all know already, most of us donate to our families. We donate to them because we love them. We donate to them because we want them to be okay. And I've always said it on this show. I have 7 brothers and sisters, and all of them came forward. Both my parents as well. That's 9 people. And then my girlfriend from high school, you heard her story last week, and she's agreed that she's going to come on. Unfortunately, she doesn't like videos, so it's just going to be sort of like a podcast. But you know, as I was saying, do you think that organ donation clashes with our African traditions? Why do you think so? Waiting for that call. That number again to call is 0161 222 9960, and text messages or WhatsApp is 0744 881 1570. So get calling and get texting. I'm waiting for you to call and to send your thoughts in. And speaking of blending old and new, let's enjoy a song that fuses tradition and modern vibes. This is Try Me by Thames, and I'll see you in a bit. Hope to hear your story, hear your questions, and also call into the studio. So I'll see you in a minute. Welcome back. That was Try Me by Thames, a song that speaks to courage, choice, and taking control of one's destiny, just like the discussion we're having tonight. Let's talk about an important question. If you were asked to donate, who would you choose? Many of us immediately think of a child, a sibling, or a parent, but not everyone sees it that way. So some time ago, I was having a conversation with one of the journalists from Nigeria, and they told me this story. They said a young woman who was just about 23 years old was asked this question, and her answer stunned many people. She said she was asked, "Would you donate?" I'm just trying to remember exactly the question. Would you donate a kidney to a member of your family? And she asked, like who? And they said, your father, mother, brothers, or sisters. Who would you donate to? And she said, my father has already lived his life. I can't give my kidney to him when I have my whole life ahead of me. Her words sparked heated debate. Some people agreed, saying she had the right to think about her future. Others argued that African values emphasize honoring parents above all else. What would you do in that situation? If you're asked that question, would you donate to your father? Would you donate to your mother who needs an organ? Or would you donate to your child as a mother? And, I put myself in those shoes. And I think that if I have two healthy kidneys, yes, it would be a difficult conversation. But I think I would donate to my siblings. I would donate to my parents if they need it, because that was exactly what my siblings were thinking when they came forward. That was what my friend was thinking when she came forward, including my parents. So why wouldn't I do that? And it is a deeply how would I put it? It is a deep question. It is something we do need to think deeply about. When we talk about donating to those we love, it is easy to say yes. And there's some families where people have said, no, we're not going to do it. We don't want to do it. What if I need the organ? Well, as a living donor, you can only donate, one of your kidneys or part of your liver. And if it's a liver, because the liver grows back to its full size, it regenerates and grows back to its full size, why won't you do it if somebody you love, a loved one, needs that kidney? It's really shocking, it really shocked me to hear that young girl's answer. And, I don't know the kind of relationship she has with her father. It is her decision. I cannot judge her because people are scared, people are worried, and it's something they can't wrap their heads around. Asking them to, give one of their organs. And as I said, tradition plays a huge role in making those decisions. And sometimes it's not always tradition. It's just, religion, fear, and all those myths that, you find in our traditional stories, values, culture. All of those actually makes people change their minds about donating. And sometimes it might just be that, the relationship is not that close. But this brings up a critical issue. How do we balance self-preservation with duty to family? How do we balance self-preservation with duty to family? Because on one hand, you're thinking about your health. On the other hand, you're thinking, I don't want my family member to die. I want to look after them. I want to do something to make their life better. But if you're unable to do that because of that fear, if you're unable to do that because you are questioning why you should do that. Believe me, in right here in the UK, if you have doubts, it doesn't go ahead. And people can change their minds at the last minute, and that donation would not go ahead. They would always ask you. So you have, as up to the 99th minute, you can decide, I don't want to go ahead, and it will stop. Unfortunately, if it is a cycle, like, you've gone to the ped scheme, it has a knock-on effect on those people who are waiting in that circle. That means they have to go back into the poll and wait to see if somebody can get somebody else to join them. It is not always easy. It is a process that's very lengthy. So if you're making that decision, you need to have all your facts to hand, and that is why the specialist nurses organ donation are there to advise you, to listen to your fears, to speak to you. The doctors also they're really good. They will tell you what it entails, and as I always say, there is no silly question. You must ask those questions that are bothering you, those niggling questions that are stopping you from making that decision. And it's not an easy conversation to have. Neither is it an easy answer, but it's a conversation that we need to have with our families, with our friends, with our neighbors, especially if you are living in the UK on your own and you don't have anybody to help you with that decision in the UK. So you must speak to people who will be able to ensure that that decision you made is honored, or they follow your instructions to the letter. So it's really, really important. Many young people face the same dilemma, putting their futures at risk for the sake of a loved one. Just like this 23-year-old who's thinking, why would I give to my dad? I'm 23 years old. Why do I have to give my dad one of my kidneys? It doesn't make any sense to me. I can see where she's coming from. She's got her life ahead of her. She could have a child tomorrow. She'll get married, have a child tomorrow. And what if she needs an organ? What's going to happen? And that's something they don't know. Different countries practice different practices. And right here in the UK, if you donate an organ to somebody, if you do need an organ later, you get bumped up. If you heard Ali's interview last week, where he said that he gets checked every year, that is what happens. You get checked every year to make sure you are in you have the optimum health, and if there's anything they notice, you get brought in very quickly to ensure that you're doing okay, and nothing is stopping you from leading a healthy life. So, and as I said earlier on, many young people face the same dilemma as this young woman, putting their futures at risk for the sake of a loved one, or choosing themselves and being seen as selfish. It isn't selfish. It's self-preservation. I don't blame them for that, especially if they don't have enough information to hand. And that's why I would like to encourage people to join in this conversation, to listen, and also to reach out and ask questions. This is not the time to say it doesn't concern me. It is not. I don't think it's going to happen to me ever. You never know what will happen tomorrow. I'm not saying it's going to happen to you, but whatever it is, it might not be that, you're just ill and you go to the hospital and all of a sudden they come and say you need an organ. You need to have the facts to hand. You need to understand about organ donation, especially living donation. And most people don't know. And, at the end of the day, a lot of young people, if you're healthy and you donate, it doesn't affect you in any way. You go back to, your life. You go back to doing exactly what you were doing before you went and did before you donated your organ. Now, about being selfish, Yes, you can be selfish. It is your organ. It is your body. You decide. If you feel that, at that time, you don't think that you want to because you're worried, you're scared, yes, you can be selfish. It's okay. Somebody else will come along. And even if there's no living donor, that the person who needs a donor would be put on the transplant list to wait for a deceased donor. And yes, sometimes for the Black community, I just found out recently it actually come down to 3 years. 3 years waiting for an organ. For me, it was 10. But, as I've always said, science moves along very quickly. So get, people will get, an organ on the deceased donor list if they can't find anybody to give them an organ as they are alive. So don't worry about that. At the end of the day, whatever happens, you would get an organ and you'll be looked after by the renal specialist who would ensure that that organ continues to work for you. For the living donor, young people, don't feel bad that you were not able to donate because we can understand how it feels. And I don't know if me, as I'm here, if as I'm leaving, if I'm asked, if that decision will come easy. But I know I've signed up and asked for all my organs to be used if I die today. And with that, let's listen to No Wahala. No Wahala, as you all know, it means no worries, okay, by Wanda Batten, because sometimes life's toughest choices come with no easy answers. So I will see you back here in a minute or two. Enjoy the next music. I'll see you soon. Welcome back. That was Understand by Omale. And before that was No Wahala by Wanda Bantin, perfectly capturing the complexity and calm we sometimes need when making tough decisions, just like those involved in organ donation. Now, let's explore a topic that deeply influences how many Africans view organ donation: religion and faith. Religion plays a significant role in the daily lives of millions of Africans, shaping their beliefs, values, and decisions. But what exactly do religious teachings say about organ donation? Are they supportive, skeptical, or perhaps misunderstood? In many African communities, Christianity, Islam, and traditional religions coexist, each offering distinct perspectives on bodily integrity and life after death. Let's start with Christianity. While some Christians express hesitation about donating organs, viewing the body as sacred and not to be tampered with, many religious leaders now actively encourage organ donation, framing it as an ultimate expression of Christ-like love and sacrifice. They often cite Jesus' teachings about compassion, selflessness, and helping those in need. Islam, too, generally supports organ donation. Prominent Islamic scholars emphasize that saving a life is one of the most noble and commendable acts in Islam. While concerns about bodily integrity exist, many Islamic scholars affirm that the act of donation is permissible provided it is done voluntarily and respectfully. Traditional African religions offer diverse interpretations. Some view any alteration of the body as spiritually risky, potentially disrupting one's journey into the afterlife or displeasing ancestors. Yet, many traditional healers and spiritual guides increasingly recognize that saving lives aligns with core African values like community responsibility and interconnectedness. However, despite these positive religious positions, misconceptions persist. Often, misunderstandings stem from limited discussions and unclear teachings in places of worship. We need religious leaders, priests, imams, pastors, and traditional leaders to clarify positions openly, removing fear and stigma. Perhaps instead of viewing organ donation as contradicting spiritual beliefs, we should view it as embodying them. After all, what higher calling exists than helping others and giving life? As we reflect on this profound connection between faith and giving, here's a beautiful piece by Fireboy DML, Vibration. I'll see you in a minute, and I hope that this song reminds us of our interconnectedness and shared humanity. I'll see you back here in a minute. Oh, Hello and welcome back. That was Fireboy. The first song was Fireboy DML with Vibration, and the second was Duduke by Simi. I hope you enjoy that. We have we've almost come to the end of the show. Thank you for staying with me this past almost 1 hour. Tonight, we challenged myth, shared stories, and reflected on faith. But where do we go from here? The answer is simple: education and conversation. We need to talk about organ donation in our churches, mosques, and um, whichever gatherings within the city, wherever we gather as a group. We need to let people see that it's an act of love, not an act of loss. But before we go, let's leave with something fun. Think of this as a little homework. Next time you are at a family gathering, bring up organ donation. Watch the reactions. Will one of your aunties scream? Will your uncle change the topic? Or will someone actually say, I never thought of that? And then the conversation starts with us. And I know that I have raised this conversation in different places, at birthday parties, funerals, at community gatherings, on the plane, on the train, on the bus, one to one, you name it, because it is a conversation we need to have. And I know a lot of people are tired of me, cornering them and talking about my story. But it is something I think that we as human beings need to do. We need to raise awareness about organ donation. We need to speak to not just our family, but also to friends, to colleagues at work. As last week, as you saw, Ali Dawson actually gave to his colleague, and actually his colleague didn't want anybody to know, but she went ahead to put it on Facebook, and he saw it on Facebook, and he said, I will test. And he tested, and he was a match. Imagine that. If you're waiting and thinking, how do I get it? And hide it, or you don't want to tell people. And this is what happens in our community. Nobody wants to come out and say, I'm a kidney patient or I need an organ, because some people feel they don't want to be the topic of conversation at any dinner table. It doesn't matter. Even if you are a topic at the dinner table, at least a conversation is going on. People are asking questions. People are talking about it. It might not be you. It might be somebody else. It might be somebody who is not related to them, because that's one area where we fall down, where we fail each other. We do not walk off the street to say we want to donate to somebody we don't know. And that is what Ali did. Yes, it was his work colleague, but they weren't close. But he saw and he thought, how can I help? And that is a selfless action. And we can be selfless, especially in the Black community. We have to understand that we, as people, as a person, we can do a lot more and save people's lives. When we're alive and when we die, we can be that hero for those people who are waiting and hoping for somebody to step forward to donate, or for a family who've lost their loved one. Really sad thing to happen, but despite their pain and suffering, they think about others who are waiting on the transplant list and say, we would donate. I know it is really, really hard, especially in that grief. You saying, what can I do? And sometimes, really, the organs might not be a match for the person. and your organs might not be used. And I have seen families who've come forward to say, I did ask them to use my loved one's organs. Unfortunately, they didn't pass the assessment and they didn't use the organs. And you find that those families are usually disappointed that this happened. So, what can we do tonight? Having listened to me for almost an hour now, I think? Yes, almost an hour. What can we do to help somebody else? Is reach out to the renal teams in the hospital. Speak to your GP. Your GP will refer you. Speak to, when you go into the hospital, you really want to find out more, you can speak to the renal team in the renal unit, especially at Salford Royal. Just go there and ask to speak to the living donor team, and they will direct you to them. They will answer any question you've got. So don't forget, this week, whilst you're walking around doing nothing, have a think and think about, what you can do to help those people who are on the transplant list. So thank you very much for listening to me, and join me next Sunday at 5 p.m. on Radio Africana for another thought-provoking episode of Second Chances with Hilaria Asumu. Next week, we'll be talking about women as donors. We women, we are versatile. We are just amazing. So the topic next week will be women as donors, the gender dynamics of living donation. Did you know that globally, women are far more likely to be living organ donors than men? And why is that? What cultural, societal, and personal factors influence this trend? We will be exploring the role of women as caregivers, their motivations for donating, and the emotional impact of these decisions. You don't want to miss it. As we wrap up, here is our final song, which is Aya Star. We all love Aya Star. Ira Star, not Aya. Ira Star. We all love her. Bloody Samaritan. And I hope that, we enjoy the song. And also, as we listen, knowledge is power. And the more we share, the more we grow. Good night, and until next week, be that hero. Here is Hayastar with Bloody Samaritan. I'll see you next week. Bye.